Okay, you're wondering, why is there an American flag on this video, huh? Well, we're going to talk about the government standards and are they good enough? And so that's going to mean that you got to start thinking and asking yourself, are they good enough or not? Well, the history of water in America is kind of interesting. There wasn't any, in most of our country's history, there wasn't any legal or laws that were passed until the second half of the 20th century. Now that said, it started in 1886 and 1899 with the River and Harbors Act. Those are two significant acts that were actually designed to curb pollution, of getting water pollution into our drinking water. By the way, most of the time that was actually gasoline that was getting into drinking water, so poor people were actually drinking it. Plus, in 1912, the U.S. Public Health Service Act was created, which sought to end waterborne illness. Now, that's really important because if you think about just nationwide, we weren't adding chlorine to water to help keep coliform bacteria down. But because of what happened in Chicago in the late 1800s, we had an epidemic where we had heavy rainfall. It went into the sewer system. It backed up, went down the Chicago River, back out into Lake Michigan, and there are cribs which actually pull the water back into the water system, was brought in and distributed to people's homes. And guess what? Many, thousands and thousands of people got sick. They said thousands of people died. Now I tried to research it. There's no true documentation of it because, of course, back then our record keeping wasn't all that wonderful. What we do know, though, is it happened again. One in the 1990s. Yeah, not too long ago, up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What happened there? Lots of rainfall. It melted the manure in the cows' pastures, and that ended up getting into rivers and creeks, which led into Lake Michigan, and there they pulled that water in and failed to add more chlorine to kill that. By the way, remember, these cities, they have what's called water treatment plants, not water filtration. So they treat the water with chlorine, which goes back to what that act was designed to do, is add chlorine to the water so that every water supply in the United States actually has to have chlorine to kill that bacteria. By the way, coliform bacteria can make the elderly and infant die pretty quickly because you get flu-like symptoms, you're vomiting and you get diarrhea, and so that's very, very dangerous for those people. So that was a great act that the government actually put into place. Now, the environmental movement, or the environmentalism movement of the 1960s and 70s, peace, man, right? That was actually a great movement because that started Americans being more concerned about their health and welfare. And so the government created the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, in 1972 or 1970. And then they created the first act, or it's called the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act of 1972 and 1974. Now, those acts started to set standards of which the water authorities had to start testing the water, and they had to make sure that the levels were set so that people didn't die from it. Now, keep in mind, that is their standard. They usually set it for a man 180 pounds, that what can that person tolerate before they can actually die or get very sick from that contaminant. So the standard is, maybe antiquated since it started way back then. They didn't update that until 1996. That was the last time that we actually had an update to that list. And so that's where you got to say that's a long time ago. I don't know. Some of you might not have even been born then. So you got to ask yourself, is that important to you or not? It's old standard. There's only 90 contaminants that are on that list. And boy, oh boy, since 1996 till now, we have forever chemicals. We have hexavalent chromium 6. These are contaminants that are in our water supply, but yet they're not really testing for it. Now they're starting to test for it, but they don't fine the governments if they have it in there. And they're arguing back and forth what level should be allowable. So we all know it's in our water supply, almost everyone's water supply, yet nobody is saying to take it out yet. And the only way to get that out is reverse osmosis system. Now, again, I do think that the EPA was great because it set a standard, but again, it's the government. What does the government do right? right? So if you're interested in taking out any of the toxins that are in the water, which by the way, I've looked through, I think almost every water supply in Illinois, Florida, and I've looked all across the country because you guys reach out to me and ask me questions. And literally what I'm finding is there's toxins in almost everybody's city water supply. Why is that? Well, they add chlorine to the water. And when you add chlorine to the water, there's a byproduct. Number one byproduct in everyone's water is trihalomethylenes. You got to ask yourself, do you want that? By the way, do you even want chlorine in the water? If you'd like to learn more about chlorine, I do have a chlorine video. Anyhow, my goal is to serve you. So if you have any questions, please type it out. Let me know. You can email me or call me because I'm Drew. I'm here to serve you.